If you break your fast early without intending to, like for example, someone's adhan went off on their phone, which is why we should really be trying to learn how to look at the sky. But if we depend on these calculations, which many of us do, we should try to look at them all and see which one, try to make a comparison. We got different apps or websites that we use. I would say go with the one that's a little later, as long as it's not too late, if you have to. But if by chance you break your fast early without intending to break it early, then inshallah, Allah fed you. Allah fed you, Allah gave you something to drink, but you shouldn't, try to do that. You shouldn't do that intentionally.
And eating as a family, if you can. I know it's part of the sunnah, right?
Eating as a family?
I'm just saying that because somebody else might not know.
Yeah, of course. It's always good to eat with a family, man. Eat with your family, no doubt. It's good to eat from the same dish. I mean, it's, with your family, with your brothers. It's not all that easy now because so much stuff going around, germs and sicknesses, and people are just not as sanitary as they used to be. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff out here, exposure, and some people are just not clean people. I've seen people, unfortunately, come straight to the food and didn't wash their hands first, and that's, we shouldn't be that way. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us not even to blow on the food, not to blow on the vessel, and there's some wisdom behind that. It can be something that could, for lack of better words, be a turn off to someone. You know what I mean? You blowing in something that we all have to eat from. You could maybe spit a little bit, a person, breath might not be fresh, you know what I mean? Just keeping it real, it's these things can be offensive and they can turn people away, people not using gloves. I see people touch their nose and all type of stuff, man. I've actually seen a person, I witnessed a person in a Muslim brother, may Allah preserve him, come to his restaurant. He had someone working there. He was mixing up some type of stuff, man, like creamy stuff. This dude grabbed a spoon. He tasted it. He said, and started mixing with the same spoon. Yeah. And he's a snotty-nosed type of dude, too, you know what I mean? And it's like this type of thing makes this kind of stuff difficult because we're not preferring people over ourselves. Muslims should always prefer his brother over himself. So if you're that type of person, and you're that type of person, then you should be, thinking about your brother and, holding him in a higher regard than you hold yourself, and knowing that that's something that may be offensive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the more hands in a dish, the more blessings.
One more question. That's it. Yeah. Big decisions, should they be discussed with your like if it's going to affect the whole family, even the children, should they be discussed with the children?
It all depends. Sometimes you have to come together as the administration, as the overseers. You know what I mean? You have to come together and decide how we're going to approach this situation. Not just with family, but just, it can be a communal issue. An issue between spouses. We have to address an issue. We need to come together first and see how we're going to address it, how we're going to deal with it. Sometimes you got to decide as parents, we're going to have a united front. That we don't want the children to see us different, because the children will look at that kind of stuff and they play on that kind of stuff. They see the mother weak in this instance, or the father, they're going to kind of lean. The children, they're always going to try to take the path of least resistance. That's natural from people in general. So if you got to deal with the kids, it's better that you come together and let them see, even if you don't always agree, but let them think you do, so they can't play games, because ultimately it's for their own good.
And I'm in the process of getting divorced, so I told my daughter, we're not going to be staying in the same house,
okay.
So that's what I was actually referring to. Okay. So I wanted to know, was I wrong for that? Because I wanted to tell her, because she's 13 now, so she's old enough to understand, what's going on. Yeah,
it's done already now. But if you did that, then maybe you thought that was what was best at the time. And by her being 13, maybe that was the best way to go. Because if you're getting a divorce, usually divorces are somewhat messy. And there's always some tension in the air. So sometimes one of the spouses may do things intentionally to make the situation uncomfortable. So you don't want the children to see that either. So sometimes you got to brief the child and get the child prepared, and you know your child better than anyone. person can advise you, but if they don't know the situation up close and personally, then they should refrain from saying what you absolutely should and shouldn't do, but just give you some advice if you ask for it, because it's also from the rights of a Muslim over a Muslim is that when he comes to him for advice, he gives him sincere advice. Yeah, so in that case, you did what you thought was best. But it's always good when the parents can come together and work together, because ultimately we have the same objective. We should, to see the child succeed. And we can't do it together. We're going to have to work together to do it while we're apart. More questions? I think that's the real deal right there. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.